what? There we go. All right. Thank you. Yeah, 7:30, 7:31. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good Lord. It's morning somewhere. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make a promise that I'm probably going to break almost instantaneously, which is I'm going to try and talk less than usual at this. Partly because my jaw aches. I had my wisdom teeth extracted this week, so I'm full up round today. All right. That said, thank you all for coming. I don't see any totally new faces, but I do see some folks that I don't see very often in person for these meetings. So thank you for coming out. I look forward to seeing you more often, or having you join us on Zoom, whatever brings you joy. No, don't give me one of those.
You got it.
All right. For those of you who are here in person, please take a moment to thank George and take advantage of his glorious holiday themed spread. And the holiday themed meaning it's got some colors back there that might or might not be holiday related.
We also have hot water, tea bags, and Swiss Miss.
There you go. So that's definitely holiday themed. All right. And while our next item is going to be to discuss the upcoming events, I'd like to remind everybody to please RSVP and keep an eye on the calendar. I'm cautiously optimistic that probably in the next day or three, I'll get the 2026 calendar populated on the website. We just got confirmation back from Chipokes that the dates that we wanted work. So we're getting our preferred dates for the East Coast Star Party. Bruce will, I'm sure, talk about that and what those are. So it looks like we're pretty well lined up. That said, I'm going to turn over the podium to our illustrious Vice President.
Okay. First non-related event, I have ID cards for all the new people, including through November. That's something new. So I'm up to date on my list. Anybody here that needs an ID card? Okay. If you don't have one, I'll make one. Okay. Let me share the screen here. Well, I'm looking to see the screen to share, and I don't see the screen to share, so hang on a minute. I got to find it.
Yeah, I hadn't got my phone yet.
Okay. I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to screw this up.
So while Jeff is getting us logged in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next report while you're getting logged in.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Next one is going to be for our treasurer's report. So, Rich, our recently re-elected treasurer, take it away.
What now?
Treasurer's report, my friend. Treasurer's report.
I know. I was like, what? I was going, what now about the treasure? But
yeah.
All right. So the books, we have just under 12 grand across all of our accounts. That's a decrease of 1,800 from the month before. We had a big purchase item. Was we bought a Sea Star. Which is our Georgie June raffle ticket prize. And other than that, no major expenses. We brought in money from, Ben made some scholarship contributions. Our scholarships are well funded for next year, fully funded for next year. And we had 3 new members join in the month to take us up to 206. So that's all I got treasurer wise. I will start the bane of my existence, which is the membership renewal campaign here shortly. So you'll start seeing emails from me. When I send out stuff like through Night Sky Network and on Groups.io, it goes to everybody. So you may not actually owe dues. Some people pay well in advance. I try to put that disclaimer because some people freak out. So if you're paid up in advance, you don't need to pay. I just sent a blast to everybody reminding you. A lot of people will pay. And then in January, the people that actually owe and haven't paid, you'll start getting individual emails from me. I don't do it right off the bat because it's like 200 people. So usually a good portion will pay, and then I'll start needling people through the month of January. until everybody is up to date. And then in February, we start clearing out the delinquents. So fun times for Rich here in the next 2 months, but be ready for that. That's all I got.
Thanks, Rich. And also one other item that I will reach out to you about is to get the list of folks that have not paid for their RASC handbook.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the list. So several more people did pay through the month.
Okay.
So I have those. I can send them to you. Those handbooks have shipped. They're supposed to arrive at my house on Monday. I'll be out of town next week.
Who's this?
But we can probably arrange the following week, or if you really want to pick them up, my wife will be here. I'm traveling for business. So.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll work something out, and I'll get those from you. That means we should be able to have them possibly for Skywatch and definitely for the that's the word I'm looking for. Oh boy. All right. Cool. Any questions for our club treasurer? All right. Approve the.
I move to approve.
By acclamation, all in favor? Approved. Thank you. Excellent job, Rich. That said, we appreciate you continuing to do that job and being good-natured about being elected when you weren't even here to defend yourself. So, thank you.
That's what you get for not showing up. It was my wife had the birthday on the wrong month.
No, we're not.
I'm blaming her. She screwed me. And she's complaining about me doing astronomy club stuff. I'll be like, it was your fault. It's your birthday.
She's standing right behind you. Didn't check your baffles.
I think she's upstairs.
Just kidding.
Back down.
Just kidding.
All right. Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
I'm a little worried.
Right, thank you.
iPad Pro like that.
iPad Pro 11. There's no name here, so we don't know who you are. Please put your name in there, please. Change your name to your name. Okay, share. All right. This coming Saturday, Sunday, we only have 3 people signed up. I looked at each one of these to find out how many people signed up, and it's not very well attended on anything. So please, if you haven't done that, sign up yes or no or maybe. Otherwise, it'll say nothing.
There's a good chance, looking at the forecast, that one's
probably not going to go. I know it's probably not going to go. All right.
I'll sign up for it.
And we'll put the word out if it goes or doesn't go. This is Portsmouth.
I have one monetary stake in that day. I don't know why.
This is the Portsmouth STEM Public School STEM Expo. And if you'll please, I gotta get rid of this so I can minimize the screen. Someplace. Okay. If you'll please sign up for that. I don't think there's just but a few on that. Okay. Muse and Ghent. I think there's 3 people signed up for this. Skywatch. There's 2 people signed up for Skywatch. That's on the 13th. Move this up here for a minute. Let's see. Cornland, the BBAA holiday luncheon. We will soon get a database of how many people you're going to bring and that sort of thing. All I could do online with Night Sky Network was to say, RSVP, and you can't indicate how many people you're bringing. So please let us know how many people you're bringing. Okay, that's the luncheon. And it's pretty sparse in December, and it's even worse in January. Cornland and everything is online. So let me see if I can move it to the next month here. And you'll see that January is not very well populated. Yeah. Okay. I do have Crestwood Elementary School confirmed, and I think there was 3 or 4 signed up for that, so that's good. I asked them for a table. I'm thinking right here. I asked them for a table. Yeah, we have some yeses. And access to the outside like we always get, or like we always prefer, and they should be able to do that too.
And the meeting will be the second Thursday.
The second Thursday. Oh, okay. I didn't even notice that. You're right. The first Thursday's New Year's Day. We don't want to meet them. We don't want to meet them. Okay? No, not really, not really. I don't do that. Any questions on the events? Okay, we'll turn it back over to El Presidente. Stop share.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, we'll get the January calendar out there. Technical difficulties and pain medication has prevented it up to this point. Okay. I will turn it over to Gabe for the secretary's report before he has his next item coming up here.
I mean, well, I know what I need to say.
Okay.
I don't need to get my computer for this. So secretary's report from the November meeting. So as Jeremy mentioned, we had club elections that day. Rich and Jeff got to keep their position as treasurer and vice president respectively. Jeff also gave his presentation on CPI variables, which was really fascinating to hear about how they're used to accurately determine, semi-accurately determine the distance to really far away objects. Their significance. They talk about Henrietta Swan Leavitt, who was the lady who originally pioneered them using them as a luminescent candle, I think is a technical term. And it would again, if you want to watch it, it's on the Zoom on the website. So give it a watch if you're interested, because I thought it was very interesting. And I know quite a bit about CPI variables. So that's all I have, though. It was a pretty standard meeting aside from the election, so it went well. I'll turn it over to Jeremy now.
Well, before you turn it over, does anyone have any questions for the secretary? Additions, subtractions, multiplications, divisions for the
Derivatives, integrals.
the minutes are an integral part of the meeting, so
Yes, they are.
but they can be sometimes quite derivative. I'll take a motion to accept. Second. Approval by acclamation. That's way faster. All right, approved. Excellent. Thank you, Gabe.
You're welcome.
Next, we are going to turn the podium over electronically to our illustrious Alcor.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear you great? Leave it, Charlie.
Okay. So I'm gonna attempt to share. Okay, can you see my shared screen okay?
Negative. It's like there. Yes, positive.
Okay. All right. So for those of you that are new in the meeting, the Astronomical League is a nationwide organization of shockingly 23,000 people and about 300 clubs. They put out a fine publication called Reflector. It's part of your dues. And I have already checked. This is the September edition, and I've combed through it both manually and electronically. And unfortunately, nobody has a observing award, posted in this particular September edition. But I'm waiting for the December one to come out, and I'll announce who got those awards at the January meeting. Okay. So there's some interesting observing challenges that are available, or that you navigate to astroleague.org right here, and then go to observing challenges. And then, so some interesting ones that are, I think I've already covered this one once or twice this year, but number 10 is the T Corona Borealis Observing Challenge. Yes, we're still waiting. I remember Rich Roberts' presentation earlier this year. So all the instructions are there for you. So if that star,
Watch variable never boils.
if that star ever does do its thing, there's level 1 that can be done by anybody, and level 2, you have to be a member of the American Association of Variable Star Observers. So that's for Rich and anybody else that's in AVA. So the most interesting one I thought this month was this number 15, through the 3-Eye Atlas Observing Challenge. This is the interstellar object that's due to have its closest approach to Earth this month on December 19th. So the instructions are there for you. It's pretty easy. Image it if you can find it, and sketch it if you can find it, and be able to prove to the folks that you submit all this to that you did in fact find it. So that'll be an interesting challenge. Okay. With that, I'll just transition briefly through Jeremy Mitchell's efforts to coordinate with Chip Oak State Park. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but the dates we fell out on with the park are for the spring ECSP is April 16th through 19th, and the fall will be November 5 through 8. Am I correct?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm checking my email right now.
Okay. I just checked our long email thread with Trevor Johnston, the park ranger, and that seemed to be, what we went back and forth about was the
April 16th and November 5th.
Correct. Okay, that's what I have. All right. So I'm already shopping the used bookstores to get books for that event, and we will continue to plan to those events. So mark your calendars for spring ECSP April 16th through 19th. That through Jeremy's efforts have automatically deconflicted with the Staunton River Start Party. I went last fall, and I know that the spring Staunton River is March 16 through 22. So I'll be out there again. And for anybody else that goes, then after the Staunton River in March will be our event in April. And other than that, I'd like to thank Mr. Roberts for being treasurer again. I was treasurer for 2 years, and appreciate Rich's ongoing efforts to keep us in the black. Okay, all right, thanks. That's all I got.
Any questions for the Alcor or East Coast Star Party?
Dates for the fall.
Dates for the fall.
November 5 through 8.
November 5. Yep. And that'll be on the club calendar. I want to say tomorrow. We'll see. It's very probable that it'll be tomorrow. I meant for it to be today, but sorry about that, folks. Okay. No other questions. So next, I don't think we have the scholarship committee chairman here, and we're kind of in the lull that we will soon be needing to advertise the next round to start getting spooled up for the upcoming scholarship season. Once again, thanks to George for the refreshments committee, and with that, I will open up the floor for observing reports. All these clear skies we've had lately.
Yeah, I've got that 87 carbon stars. I wouldn't put carbon star, but written on the carbon star program, and the other 13 I can't seem to find because they're too close to the sun. We're in the wrong position in the solar system. I'll just have to wait until these goes up.
Are you doing that?
Yeah.
So I've been looking for comets. Anybody see Comet Swan?
Good, all right, I saw it on the 1st, the 5th, the 6th, and the 8th, and they used a 15-inch. I have to use a pretty big telescope because I'm right in the middle of Virginia Beach, Peninsula area. I also saw Comet C 2025 T1. Anybody seen that one? It's in Vulpecula, and it was a hazy night. Just the other night, the moon was 70% full, and pointed the scope to it, and there it was, pretty faint. I was using a 25-inch, but it was a pretty mediocre night for that. And then a friend came over one day. I said, let's look at Arcturus. So in the middle of the day, I showed him Arcturus. Whoa, which is pretty. And I don't know if you've noticed, but if you've ever looked at a star in the daytime of the telescope, the colors are really intense. There's just something about it. You know, you don't have that extra brightness of the star. And Arcturus was so gold and so pretty. So we looked at that, and then we looked at Venus. Actually, we looked at Venus first, and I have digital settings, so I set it to Venus. And then you're supposed to use 2 stars, but Arcturus was not too far away from Venus, so I scanned the area and looked in the eyepiece, and there it was. It's so cool to see stars in the day. They try to
What time of the day?
out there. 11:30 and 1 noon, something like that. And one other thing, anybody ever seen the Pleiades here? Yeah. Now, has anybody ever split 6 of the stars in the Pleiades? That's a challenge. And I did that with a small refractor, a 5-inch refractor.
Is this in the daytime or at nighttime? Sorry.
Anybody ever seen Stephan's Quintet in the daytime? I don't know if you know about Stephan's Quintet, but it's a really challenging group of galaxies. It's near NGC 7331 at Pegasus. And it's really cool to see it. But you have to be in the dark sky, and you have to have at least a 10-inch telescope to see 4 of the 5. Anyway, that's all. That's all I've looked at lately.
I can't help but be surprised that you waited until the time of year when we have the most nighttime. Daytime observing.
I'm different.
You know, sort of, then when the sun erupts, he knows. 5 minutes later, it's on Facebook. Everybody. I got one.
Ken tells us whether it's worth looking at the sun, whether it's at least 100,000 miles.
It's gotta be at least 100,000 miles.
Go ahead.
So Friday night, we had our Thanksgiving a day later, and I had my grandkids out, and I've been looking for it for a couple of days just to make sure it was going to hit Rufus Rectum. Am I on the moon? Plain as day as you can imagine it ever being. And you know, just to get the 12, 12, and 10, to get them out there to see that, see Saturn, you know, that fine line of that ring, and you mentioned the Pleiades cluster, you know, those 3 things were enough for them to, oh wow, thanks, Poppy, for no right. But you know, for the 10 minutes they were actually engaged, they were kind of excited to see something like that. And when I explained to them what the perspective was, and how you see it, you can only see it one day a month. You know, they were kind of intrigued. But it is a, you know, he showed it to me the first time. This guy Sean out back over in the ball field that over at Kempsville. And you know, every month when I get close, I'm like, tonight, no, is it tonight? Oh man, maybe you know, because you can kind of see it the day ahead of time, but you don't really see it till that one day. And you have to kind of hit it in that. Must be like a 12-hour window when it's really prominent. But it is pretty fascinating because it is something you can only see once a month if the sky is blue.
I saw things that you can actually see twice a month when they split from the other side. Well, it's supposed to appear like a white line. I haven't tried it.
Okay.
But it's interesting, illuminating from both sides. So.
I'll go check that out. I won't be able to see that.
So what is this called?
Straight wall. Only visible around the first quarter moon.
When I forget, where is it? I never looked for it. Where is it located? Is it in
It's on the moon.
I know that. I was in the sea or something. What is it in the highlands?
No, it's in the south. It's just west of Tycho and
Okay.
Clavius.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So I know we're not a whole lot of people at last Skywatch.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
There were like maybe 4 or 5 of us. Yeah, there were 3 of us. So it was Jeff, Torrey, Eddie, and myself. And I was there briefly. He made a cameo appearance. But it was my first time getting paid to be there. And, so I monitored to be there despite the initial bad weather. But the last 90 minutes or so were beautiful. Clouds disappeared, and we got to do some very fun observing. And the highlight of the night for me at least was going into, I forget where it is. It was in I forget the NGC number, but it was a galaxy in Aquarius that was just south east of the Helix. As a galaxy I'd never seen before. It was on my star efforts, and I'm like, why not? I'm in the area. And I looked there, and I was pretty amazed how what a pretty little galaxy this was. Like, definitely was the brightest, definitely the brighter NGC galaxies that I've seen, and something about that in particular that's really struck me. When I had observed it, and I really need to be can obviously I was lucky where it was clear for the last hour. And oh yeah, I also saw probably the brightest meteor I've ever seen in my life. It was a fireball and bullseye combination, and it looked like it was disintegrating, and it looked like there was a visible trail across the sky for like 5 seconds, and then it lingered for like 10 seconds after, like this like glowing like line where it had burned through. And it was easily brighter than Venus, like.
On November 12th, I was able to see Aurora Borealis from Ocean View.
Oh, yeah.
I got a photo of it. I got notification from Jeff Edmiston on their app that they were seeing it down at the Outer Banks, Killenville Hills. So I jumped in the car and ran down to the beach at Ocean View. And caught it. I didn't think that was possible, but here it is.
It hung around just long enough for you.
Yeah, it was only visible when I got there. It was shining, but it faded away after about 20 minutes.
The visual, take it off.
Yeah, naked eye. I got photographic evidence.
I just made a fresh pot of coffee if anybody wants some.
Thanks for the report, George. For those in Zoom land, if you drive over, you can come pick up some coffee.
Please.
Jeff and I went out to Windsor, to the Heritage Park, the fairgrounds, and I saw one of the best meteors I've seen too there. It was right 10 minutes after I got there.
Say what it's talking about.
Well, no, it was a Saturday.
Oh, it is, recently, okay.
Yeah, his was
It
on
was
a Saturday.
like
We were
two,
there like
3 days
a-
after.
It was bright and slow,
It was very slow. It was like
real slow.
this much of the sky.
Like, the more you know.
Exactly. It looked just like
Trail
that.
way out, the trail is still there.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, that was like one of the worst we saw all the hours we were there.
Do we have?
Pardon me?
That was the day before the schedule.
No, that was the night of, the morning of, technically, our permit was like midnight, 4 AM or something like that. I got there like 11.
Are we planning on doing one for either of the December? Yeah.
Turn it on.
Well,
Yeah, it's the opposite. Yeah,
so we don't have one planned, and we'll,
The Gemini is our good one.
yeah, there's, I think, 120 an hour is what they're predicted. Yeah, Gemini should be really big.
I'll turn it on.
I could have told you yesterday when I sent out the monthly, but I have to refer back to it.
The question is, where's the new?
It's almost, it'll be almost new.
I turned it down.
I say go for it.
Okay, I'll turn it on.
The only, a lot of my head right there. The only other thing that I'd add as an observing report is for earlier this week, we had the Science and Science Fiction at Greenbrier Library. I had an astounding 5 people who showed up as far as patrons to attend and hear talk about The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. That said, really engaged group. And then we went outside and we looked at the moon for the 2 people that stayed through the cold and the clouds.
You just posted the Robert Lyman?
I did. So next one is going to be sometime in April. We're going to look at Project Hail Mary right after the movie comes out. George?
We had a good event last night at Kempsville Rec Center. I gave a talk on what to expect to see in the night sky. And I also explained why you see different constellations in different seasons because of Earth's trip around the sun. And then we had about 20 people, I think, and they all went outside, and we had 4 telescopes out there. Will and Keith and Mark Host, and who was the 4th one? Oh, Sean, of course. Yeah. This guy. So, and everybody had a great time. They enjoyed it, they learned a lot, and they had a good time. Do you all do that every month, the day before your meeting? Well, it's always, Chemistry Rec Center schedules it almost every month. We don't do it in January, well, I'm not sure what to do it. Sometimes we don't do it, but usually they schedule it on Wednesday. And it's been on the first Wednesday of the month, but it was varied. Yeah. It's in the best schedule. It's very cool. While we're doing this, it's not an observed report, but I'm in a 60 millimeter telescope club. It's kind of international on the internet. And one of the guys, Mircea, and I can't pronounce his last name, too many consonants. But he came out with an atlas of variable stars. We mentioned variable stars before. So if you wanted to look at it and download it if you want, it's on astromix.ro, ASTROMIX, astromix.ro. And it's pretty cool. I was looking through it. It's pretty cool. Just a lot of variable stars that are fairly easily observable and reference stars that you can kind of estimate the magnitudes. So I must be from Romania. Yeah, yeah. You can't pronounce his name. Well, Pteancu. I don't know. The P is probably silent. Astromix.ro.
Sorry. Hand them out if anyone wants
Variable
them.
star levers.
This is what we can tell. We're getting into our real observing weather when we're able to get this many observing reports, have this much discussion. Next item on the agenda is old business. I think we could reasonably say, although maybe this would have belonged more up in the scholarships committee report, but we did acquire, as mentioned by Rich, that we shelled out some money for a C-Star. This is going to be the grand prize for the Georgie June raffle. We have, sorry.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Would you like to? Because obviously my jaw is.
Oh. In addition to that, we also have this donated IPs. Still do 17 millimeter 2-inch. Nice and heavy. And I have tickets. Gabriel has tickets. Jeff has tickets. George has tickets. So if you want a ticket, they're $5 each. And the drawing will be at the April meeting.
And as a point this year, these are actually two separate drawings. So buy a ticket, it enters you into the drawing for both items separately. But if you want to win both, you have to buy at least 2 tickets. You do not have to be present to win. In fact, at the last meeting, Ed won last year's telescope, and he found out that he'd won it even though he wasn't there by the end of the meeting. If you're a club member in good standing, or we know who you are and we can find you, you can just put down your name on the back of the ticket. If someone else wants to buy one that isn't a member of the club, then full contact info so that we can get in touch with them.
And
So
put your name and your phone number on the back of the ticket so we can contact you if you're not present.
So if you want to enter just one drawing, you differentiate between the tickets or not?
I don't know how we plan on doing that, but.
I'll also add, if you can't find an officer with tickets, you can also buy them on the website. You make a donation for whether $5 a ticket, I believe. So then if you just put in a number and say, when you do your donation to the scholarship fund, say I'm buying 10 Georgie June tickets or something like that in the notes. And when they do the drawing, we'll put you in.
The question has come up of what if you're only interested, basically you're saying if I'm not interested in one of the prizes. So
Said that.
It's going to be like normal. You put the tickets in, you pull one, and you put it back in and pull it up. Is that how it's going to work?
yes, I'm turning over in my head. Let me chew on that, figure out if there's a good way. Someone's like, hey, I'm not interested in one of the prizes. Yeah.
What is the question? Is it that you want to donate but you don't want the prize? Is that
No, the question is if somebody's only interested in one of the prizes, not both of the prizes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I just think that,
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
The question is, if you buy one ticket, you have two chances. Two prizes.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna draw from the same pool of tickets.
Yeah.
Same pool,
So
yeah.
you can only, if you're gonna win both, you have to buy two tickets.
Well, if you wanna win both prizes, you have to, so the way we'll do it is we'll reach in, we'll pull the winning ticket for the first prize. And then that.
Oh, so you're saying that ticket's used?
That ticket's used, right?
Is that all you were saying?
That is all.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I
I
was
was
saying it
confused
badly.
by it too, because I thought, like, how are you gonna tell? It doesn't specify what you.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, if you want to win both prizes, you need to buy at least two tickets. Yeah, that's, okay, sorry, I did not mean to make that as.
No, I was confused too. So I don't know.
That's fair.
Everybody's got a plan.
This is what happens when I riff on
He's
the
on
fly.
medicine.
All right. Okay, apparently I'm not allowed to make any decisions today. That's fine.
Let me see your credit card.
Dang it. I don't even think I have it on me. All right, other old business, we've already put out a plug for the the anniversary luncheon. It's not a holiday luncheon, which I think we're required to mention every December. That it's the anniversary of the establishment of the club, but it also does double duty as a holiday luncheon as well. That said, that's all I have as far as old business. Doesn't even have any new business. I will just mention that we have in the past talked about getting a library telescope program really up and running. George was digging into it a bit. He is now getting some assistance from, or Sandy is taking it on the program to look into what's involved. She's reached out to some folks that started the nationwide library telescope program to just get some more information on what that looks like successfully. So I expect we'll probably hear some more about that going forward. Okay. With that said, that is all. If there's no other new business, then I'm going to turn the podium over to Gabe for tonight's feature presentation. As I open this presentation. And Rich, I'm going to try and share the screen. Okay.
Right. Everyone see this just fine? Is it looking good on everyone's end? Just making sure. Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to start off by saying welcome everyone who made it out tonight. Brave the freezing cold temperatures to get here. You're I think in for a real treat tonight. My presentation, as Jeremy already mentioned, is going to be on star hopping. Now, I'm sure that most of us have done star hopping before at some time or not, but just as a quick gauge to just get an idea of like the experience of people who has not star hopped before and at all. Okay, so we got like 2-3 people. We know who use the go-to telescopes. That's fine though. Like I'm hoping that like even if you have star hopped before, like this presentation will still be informative and will help give you like some new tips or tricks that will help you out and make it a bit more enjoyable. And if you've never star hopped before, and even if you use a go-to telescope, I'm hoping that you still find this informative and in any way.
Hey, Gabe, we lost your presentation on Zoom.
Oh, did you not see it right now?
Negative.
I still see it.
Okay.
Maybe it sounds like a Bruce problem.
Yeah, Bruce, you sure saw something on your end? Because you're the only. It looks like you're the only one who can't see it.
I'll log out and log back in again.
Yeah, it says screen sharing. Just before I proceed, like everyone else can see it just fine.
I'm good.
I can see it just fine.
Well, you're in person, Sean, so you're exempt from this question.
I just wanted to make sure you did.
No. All right, so, again, let me know if there's if anything else happens, but, before we begin, I think it's nice. I think I should probably explain why I'm doing a presentation on this in particular. Those of you who have been to Skywatch when I have been there probably know that like this is my preferred method of doing observations. And most of you all probably also know that I've been doing this for over a decade. Like I've been doing this since I was 11, and I have gotten. I know that humility is a virtue, but I feel like I say I'm pretty good at this. And I think this is my preferred method of observing, and this is the most low-tech option as well. Like if you don't have a go-to telescope or setting circles, like this is probably the easiest way to observe stuff. And my hope is that with this presentation, that even if again that you get something out of it, even if if you don't plan on using a normal telescope at some point. With that being said, I'm sure we all know that like the night sky, the celestial sphere above us is enormous, and that it would be impossible, even in the span of a lifetime, to try and see every little thing that's up there, even if you have like a big telescope. And most of those objects are well beyond the range of the naked eye, they're well beyond the range of binoculars, and so the question becomes, if you don't have a computer to help you out, how do you locate them? Let's say you want to find Leo triplet over here, when this circle is probably still too big to be a normal telescopic view of what it's like. And we know that Leo is an enormous constellation, so how do you get from this view and you get this object in there when this is the window you have your telescope to view? And that's going to be the whole point of this presentation. So again, I'm sure most of us know what star hopping is, but I'm probably pretty sure everyone does. But in the off chance that you don't know exactly what it is, star hopping is essentially like hiking a trail to a destination. I mean that in the sense where you have start points where you begin your journey, and you're walking a trail to a destination, be it like a mountain overlook or a stream in the woods. And on the trail, there are blazes that help mark the direction you need to go in. And star hopping is a lot like that, where you have a bright guide star that acts as your starting point. I chose a pretty famous example, which is the star hopping to the Andromeda Galaxy from the square of Pegasus. And then you have a trail leading there with bright stars acting as, or star patterns acting as blazes. And you just follow those blazes, as indicated by the arrows, down the celestial trail until you finally reach the object that you want to observe. And this is the most basic principle of star hopping, and you can apply this same principle to any deep sky object that you're trying to view, regardless of whether it's a big galaxy like Andromeda or a really, really small star cluster or a double star or whatever it is you want to observe. Are there any questions thus far? Yes?
So what would you recommend to get that kind of a roadmap to go to destination? Like, you use a specific book or
Star Atlas.
Star Atlas.
And really any star atlas is the most essential thing. Aside from the actual telescope or binoculars themselves, that is the most essential thing that you're going to need.
Most of the fold-out detail of the National Geographic and stuff like that don't have enough detail.
No, well, they're not supposed to. They're not. They are supposed to be purely for educational purposes. Dedicated star atlases, like most of us probably know what the Pocket Sky Atlas is, or the non-Pocket Sky Atlas Jumbo Edition that I use. I know some of us probably know what a stellarium is, or what uranometria is, or some of those are like big star atlases from both past and from today. But really, just any kind of star atlas is, aside from the actual equipment itself, that's the most important thing that you're going to need, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So, now the question becomes, why star hop in the first place? Well, if you don't have a go-to telescope or setting circles, it's probably the only way, it's probably the main way that you get around and observe. Because without a computer to help show you the way, you have to basically rely on a star chart to help show you the direction. But that's pretty self-explanatory. There's actually another reason that I think is equally important, and that it gives an astronomer an innate understanding of the night sky and deepens their ability to navigate around it. Because not saying that using a go-to telescope is wrong by any means, and it's absolutely practical in many applications, such as if you're doing astrophotography or if you're observing in a heavily light-polluted region. But I personally, as someone who has used a little bit of computer telescopes, that it doesn't give you the same understanding of the night sky that simply doing everything manually does. I guess, again, as I say in the presentation, it's a lot like reading a giant map. And even if you already have possession of a computer telescope, I still think it's worth at some point practicing the skill, because you never know. Like, might be a night where the computer malfunctions or the motor isn't working, and you have to do it manually. And in that case, this gives you the skill that you can keep observing even if your equipment isn't working.
Gabriel, I've seen many people with star parties starting to pack up because their battery died, and they don't know the sky, so it's important, like you said.
Speaking from a guy who's been in this hobby for over 60 years, so.
Just a child.
Before batteries.
Yeah.
Just made it about this.
Yes. Yes, but yeah, that's another reason to learn. Like, yeah, like if you have a computer scope and it dies, you can still continue to observe, even if the convenience of just being able to put in a deep sky object is lost. All right, so the nice thing about star hopping is that whether you observe with binoculars or observe with a telescope, you can observe however you like to. It does not matter. It will work the exact same way. Just realizing that the zoom window is covering up the screen a little bit. Let me see. There. Oh, that's not it. Okay. This one. Hi. There it is. All right. So I'll bring you guys back when I'm done. Don't worry. Well, again,
You say no go-to telescopes allowed here. You mean for the purposes
of this video.
We still welcome people who use.
Yeah, but for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to ask you to switch off the go-to mentality and just appreciate this as is without the use of any computers. Because again, as I mentioned, there is a use for go-to telescopes, absolutely, but if you're trying to star hop, it's basically just activating cheat mode. It's like using ChatGPT in a way.
For stargazing?
Yeah.
Well,
It's not exactly
the view, and then you can just keep moving the cursor over, right? Kind of cheap.
Yeah. I just an expression. It's not a good one. That's not my specialty. But anyways, again, as I mentioned, regardless of whether you're using binoculars or a telescope, you can either way, the result will basically be the same. Binoculars are better for wide-angle views and for brighter targets like galaxies and nebulas. So star hopping with using fainter stars and fainter objects might be a bit more difficult. For telescopes, the telescope itself is a terrible object to star hop with because the field of view is really small, which is why most telescopes that I'm sure we all use either a normal finder scope, a red dot finder, or telrad, or both to help locate objects. These can precisely locate the fainter stars near a target of interest and thereby allowing the telescope to catch sight of it. Again, I'm sure most of you know how this works, where like you're either like sighting up the tube, looking in the finder scope, and yes, George?
Well, I like your idea about using binoculars, because I like to use my binoculars to find the object, get the lay of the land, and then put my telescope toward that area.
Oh yeah. Yeah, binoculars are, I think binoculars are a great tool to learn star hopping because it works the same way as a telescope finder. And it's more convenient too because you don't have to turn a heavy mount across the field. So you can just point it up and then just do the same guide practice. And for objects like Andromeda, Orion Nebula, and others, it'll work just fine.
And when you get good enough, you can find Arcturus in the daytime.
Yeah, you can be like Kens. Yeah. Personally, I think that the best combo over here, and binoculars are great on their own, but I definitely think that having a Telrad and a finder scope are nice. Telrad to get in the right approximate location, and a finder scope to narrow it down. I do not use a Telrad because I don't have room in my telescope dovetail to use one, but I know that some people in this club have both. Regardless of whatever setup you have, Star Atlas is absolutely an essential in order to star hop to some of the more difficult to reach objects. And we'll get to those in just a second. Now, I was not originally going to include this section on there, but at the request of Jeremy, I decided to add it. Star hopping is an amazing tool, but it does require optimal sky conditions to work at its very best, which means that obviously, like if you're in like a light polluted environment like we are, unfortunately, it'll definitely be hindered a bit as some important stars might be removed. So dark skies are best, but there's also other factors to worry about, like the size of your optics, and then seeing and transparency. I personally was a bit confused about what seeing and transparency is, so I'm hoping to clear this up for some case people are a little bit confused on what the difference is.
So for those who are listening to this offline or afterwards, there was a question that came up last month when we didn't have video capability on seeing and transparency, because it's a required element for you to annotate when you are doing any astronomically observing program. And someone who I won't name to protect the guilty basically said, hey, I'd love to do some of these, but I have no idea even the entering argument of how do I annotate what my seeing and transparency are. So I asked Gabe to add in a little bit on here just to baseline that, because it's related, although not directly connected. And we promised we'd try and get that word out there.
Yeah, it will affect your ability to star hop at your best. So this is the difference. So seeing refers to atmospheric stability, and this is according to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which basically is an indication of how turbulent the upper atmosphere is. Basically, it's an indication of how much air is moving around and if it's disturbing the air above you. Where transparency refers to how many particulates are in the atmosphere, which can refer to haze, dust, smog, or anything other like high, fine, like substance that'll appear in the upper atmosphere and will hinder your view. Bad seeing will cause objects to appear blurry and or distorted. This usually only is a problem if you're observing at higher magnifications. I'm sure most of us have done this before, where you're outside, you're pointing your telescope at a bright star, and you defocus the image, and it looks like it's underwater, because that's just the kind of atmospheric conditions that it is. That's indicative of a really turbulent atmosphere and thus poor seeing. If transparency is bad, it'll limit the light gathering power of your telescope or binoculars because those particulates in the atmosphere are obstructing light, meaning that there's less of it going into your telescope. It's not going to completely derail a night of star hopping. I've had plenty of great observing nights, even with less than ideal seeing and transparency, but it will make it a bit more difficult and will limit what you're able to see.
On the Astronomical League's definition of transparency is the one I use. And basically it's affected by light pollution and stuff. And what they allow you to do is faintest star you can see, which I usually use a little Dipper or the Big Dipper, and you can truncate that, and that's what you use for transparency. So it's not just particulates, it can be light pollution.
Yeah, it can also apply. It's basically anything that will hinder your view of the sky, anything that will reduce your ability to see certain things. So but it also can include light pollution. If the moon is out, your transparency is going to be worse as well. You can visualize, again, like Jonathan just said, you can visualize it by looking for the faintest star you can see. Again, Little Dipper, Big Dipper, in case you didn't hear, are probably the ideal cases. You can also do the Club of Orion is another good example. because that is significantly fainter compared to the body, which is really bright. And you can visualize seeing with the naked eye pretty easily by looking at the rate of twinkling in stars. Sirius is rising right now, which is probably the best indicator. And you can tell if the seeing is going to be good or bad by the rate if it's twinkling. If it's twinkling like crazy, it means it's a pretty turbulent night and your seeing is not going to be great. Oh, sorry, El Presidente had some business to take care of.
I failed to close out a chat properly.
But anyways, in addition to doing visual observing, if you're not exactly sure on what the seeing or transparency conditions are going to be like on a given night in your area, there are also websites like, again, the Astronomical League has a definition, but you can also go to stuff like Astrospheric, which I know some of us use, or Clear Dark Sky, and you can go ahead. They'll give you information like cloud cover, temperature, if there's any about thermal issues like heat rising, seeing, transparency. They might give you the portal number depending on the site you use. You get a lot of great information there, and it's probably more accurate than using a traditional weather app like your Apple Weather app or AccuWeather or something like that. Any questions on that so far? Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with some of the naked eye star hopping that can occur, because this is probably just a nice way to kind of introduce the idea. These are great because they, in many cases, can be found directly, which means you don't even need to use any star hopping at all. Like I'm sure most of us don't do any star hopping to the Pleiades. We just point our telescope over there and just shift it around until it's in the field because it's so bright. Same for objects like the Hyades or the Orion Nebula. And there are others in there like the Andromeda Galaxy if the night is good. And as a general rule of thumb, the better seeing conditions you have, the more objects you can see with the naked eye. I know that like from the middle of downtown Norfolk, for instance, or from Kent's house, you're probably not going to see stuff like the Lagoon Nebula or the double cluster with the naked eye. But if you go out to northwest River Park or to Oaks, you'll probably might catch a glimpse of them there. Now, what if you want to go deeper? And now I have a bit of a problem scenario for all of you. So let's say, so the double cluster is nice and high in the sky right now. It's a beautiful object in Perseus, and you want to go out and observe it. And you know that it's fairly close to Cassiopeia, as is depicted right here, but you can't get the telescope there directly, and the finder isn't being any help. In this hypothetical scenario, how would you use star hopping to get there? Can you see anything that might help you get there safely? And that is a question. This is an open response question, so yes, Jeff.
A couple of bright stars in Cassiopeia, you could orient those two stars in the same line, twice the distance, 1.5 times the distance.
Very good. As you can see here, a line from gamma right here through delta right here points not exactly to the double cluster, but close enough to where it will appear in your finder. This is the first principle of star hopping that can be useful. There are many objects out there, not just the double cluster, but where there are two guide stars that basically act like a big pointer and aim it right at the object you're trying to find. If you go on this side of Cassiopeia and go this way, this line points right at M52. There's also a couple of lines in Taurus. I know that there's two stars above the southern horn that point to the Crowd Nebula. But those kinds of patterns, you can also look for notable star shapes. For instance, if you're looking, if you were heading down this way and you were unsure, you can notice that there's this big, almost like ring of stars, and that could be a good indicator that you're on the right track. And you just basically, this is the exact principle, and this is the basis of what star hopping is, where you're basically starting from here, and then going down the right path, either just from a jump or through multiple bright stars, and looking for the blazes along the trail that eventually take you to your destination. And there are several other special scenarios that are nice. There are some deep sky objects that are located right next to bright stars, which means you don't have to do any star hopping in this case. The example I use here is NGC 6441. It's a globular cluster in Scorpius. It's just 3 arc minutes away from G Scorpii, which is the very tip of the stinger in the tail. Another fine example is the Ring Nebula, which is right in between Beta and Gamma Lyrae, right in between the two of them. So if you just find those 2 stars and aim right in between them, you can find the Ring Nebula. And there are other deep sky targets that can be marked handily with a nice little asterism. I don't know if most people use this to find the Dumbbell Nebula, but if you look on the Stellarium or the night sky, there is a long isosceles triangle that points right past it in the field. And it's a nice little marker to show that you're in the right area, even though it'll probably appear in your finder because it's so bright and large. I did also fail to include 2 other categories that I thought of literally on the drive here. There are others where, again, there's the one from case from before where there are the 2 stars pointing at the object you're trying to find. And then there's the 4th one, which is you have to use other objects to star hop between the objects you're trying to find. I'm sure most of us can relate to star hopping in the middle of the Virgo cluster as a good example of that last one. How difficult it is to tell apart the galaxies from each other simply because there's so many of them and they all blend together because they're all just a bunch of faint fuzzies. It's those kinds of scenarios where a good star atlas is really, really important. Otherwise, it's easy to get lost and it is the sea of fuzzy objects. All right, here's another good example of what star hopping can do. So as you can see here, we are near the Big Dipper right now, and this is a good example of a target where a single jump might not be wise. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. M81 and 82, beautiful galaxies, super pretty to observe. Some of my favorites in the early spring, but they can be really difficult to find. I don't know how many of you can relate to this, but for some reason, at least once a year, whenever I try to view these, I get super lost and I spend like 5 minutes in the sky just hunting in the area, hoping to find them at some point. Now, just as a general example, can anyone see a way how you would be able to easily star hop to these galaxies? At least taking a look at this Stellarium image that I screenshotted. Someone other than Jeff.
Can't read them, but.
Yeah.
Oh.
Draw a line from Hector to.
Yeah, yes.
Distance is almost the same.
Yes,
width.
exactly. But so that's the strategy in theory, because again, as you can see, it's about an equal distance if you draw a line through here. Problem is that this is a big problem. That Big Dipper is pretty big. It's in the name. So having to draw a line through here, that's a pretty big jump, and it's easy to get turned around and end up going off down a rabbit hole and end up in the wrong area of the star field. This is where star patterns in their area that act as markers come into play. So
about 5 degrees between the stars.
it's not an exact line between them, but it's close enough to where it'll still be in your finder. Basically, in this scenario, if you're having difficulty, this is where the star atlas's importance comes into play, because it will indicate stars along your route that you can use as markers. For instance, this is the way that I learned to locate these fairly easily. If you pass through this flat trapezoid that I have marked right here on the screen, if you pass through this about halfway there, that's when you're on the right track. If you see this, that means you're on the right track. And then if you see this right triangle over here, it's just to the southeast of that. Now, this is a good example of how to, like, again, using the star atlas to your advantage and trying to bend it to your will. Because if you didn't have the atlas, you would not know that this path was here, and you could probably get lost or overshoot this. Because again, this is a huge jump. It looks pretty small here, but from personal experience, it is a big leap to get from here to here and then all the way over to here. So having these little like again blazes to help indicate like, oh, I am on the right track, I just need to go a little bit further, is a good way of indicating it. And if you're stuck on an object and you can't find it, looking for these patterns is another great way to help make sure that you're at least close to the right area, and you can hone in from there. And there are a lot of objects like this. Again, M81 is probably my personal least favorite example, just because again, I love these objects and I wish they weren't so difficult to reach to. There are others. Cat's Eye is also pretty infamous for that. M83 also is a pretty long distance away from any really bright stars. And then there's one in the wintertime, which is M33, that's a pretty good distance away from any really bright stars.
Question.
Yes?
So those two galaxies, are those the red dots?
Yeah, so these are the two red circles that the arrow is pointing at.
Yeah. Those are galaxies.
Those are galaxies, yes.
So there's one more south and there's one northwest. Why those two?
Well, these two I just picked these two because these are really well known and they're really easy to see. They're by far the easiest object in this field to see.
Compared to those other two?
Those are two. You're talking about these two. They're pretty faint.
That one right where the arrow is, and then northwest. Going to the left.
That one? Yeah. This one.
They look like the same size.
Well, these are just the symbols that Stellarium uses. Stellarium uses red galaxies, red ovals for galaxies, and they all look like the same size. But these two in particular are just. They can't see them in here, but if you click on these are by far the brightest two in the field.
All right.
Yeah, no worries. Yes?
Quick question. Do you find it useful to use a lower power lens when you're doing this stuff?
Absolutely. This is another tip I should have probably put in there. That didn't think of till. Thank you for that. But one second, George. I'll get to you in just a second. But if you're using a telescope, it might be better to have a low power eyepiece if you're starting off, because it gives you a wider field of view. It means you're more likely to have a target in your field of view when you actually take your eye off the finder and go into look. So it's just a nice. Again, I can get away with it just fine with a medium power eyepiece, but I do have over 10 years of experience doing this. So if you're starting off or if you don't have a lot of experience with this, that would be my recommendation to use a lower powered eyepiece, because it'll probably help you out and save you some time. George, did you have?
I'm going to say the same thing. When you start out with a low power eyepiece, like a 32 or a 40 millimeter eyepiece, wide field of view, so you can catch your object. And those two galaxies are called, M81 is called Bode's galaxy, and M82 is called the cigar galaxy. It's sort of shaped like a cigar, it's a little bit irregular.
So when you say you can see them, what size code power / whatever?
So you can see these. You can see these in a pretty small telescope. You don't need a very big telescope to see these. These are some of the aside from Andromeda, I'd say that Bode's is probably the next brightest galaxy for Northern Hemisphere observers. And the cigar is only a little fainter. So, so as long as you're not in the middle of Norfolk or Virginia Beach, you'll probably be able to see. If you come to Skywatch, you'll definitely be able to see these in pretty much any telescope. I know people who've seen Bode's in binoculars. Yeah. And before I move on, there's just one other thing I should probably mention. If you're using a finder scope, make sure that it is aligned in the same direction as your telescope. I should have probably put that earlier on, but that is probably a really important thing. Yeah, before you observe, before it gets super dark, always just point your telescope at a distant object, and then just see if your finder is aligned the same direction. If not, there are the little screws on top that you can twist that'll align it up. Otherwise, you'll be as blind as a bat. Yeah. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, little yaps anyone wants to say before we continue on in our journey?
Who in here prefers a straight through finder over a right angle?
I like
the other way around because we got to get in all kinds of positions.
Yeah, I'd rather keep my neck straight here, and the other disadvantage, and yeah, so there are again, now you're making me go down another tangent. Thank you for that, Kent. But again, you can have a straight angle or a right angle finder. Right angle is bent 90 degrees, so you don't ruin your neck whenever you try to look down. Down says you don't get to look down the tube. I personally don't really have a big issue with it. Like I feel like I can navigate just fine. Something else to note, most right angle finders have a corrective lens in it, so that it'll flip the image up right way, whereas most straight through finders will invert the image. I think I have a little tidbit on that later on, but just bear that in mind whenever you're observing, because like if you're looking and it doesn't match the star house, it might be because the finder is inverting the image, so it appears upside down from your perspective.
I found a right angle that doesn't flip the image. I like that. But
I try for
Nobody else
right
likes that.
with red dot on it. Red dot on it.
Yeah.
So much better.
It's not fun.
All right.
So a lot of places, sometimes your scope, you can put it in the right area, which is why I like the red dot one.
Yeah. Again, like, I feel like a combination of, again, the red dot finder and the normal finder are nice because like the red dot gets you in about the right area, and then the finder just hones it in and refines it, so you don't have to hunt around. All right, with that little tangent, with those tangents crossed off the to-do list, I think this is a good constellation to act as a little bit of a star hopping summary. Canis Major is rising in the east right now. It is a little bit of a herald of winter. It follows Orion in the night sky. And I have circled a couple of notable targets in the area that we all use this constellation to basically, well, at least I use Canis Major as a reference point to help locate. And without this is an open response question like the other ones, and Jeremy, I'm borrowing your gavel for this to maintain order in the court.
Probably is serious.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't hit anybody.
I'm not going to hit anyone with it, don't worry. I'm only going to hit them if they misbehave. So.
I can't stand those names they give them. I like the number. I'm looking in my monocular, I see Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I must say, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Are you using just a pause. Are you using a finder? Where are you using? Are you using that a finder scope? Are you using a finder? Well, that's why I gave them I gave them all numbers for you, Ken. I gave them just as you always wanted.
No romance.
That's all. They're all just numbers to you. But yeah, so I think there's a couple of like clusters and there's a couple of nebulas in here as well. But all of these objects we use Canis Major as a reference point. Now, this is a brief question, and you don't have to answer this. Can any of you see how you would locate all of these objects just right now, just like at a casual glance?
They're right there.
They're right there. But I mean, thank you, Jeremy. Would you like a bonk from the gavel? But in the field, like if you know where Canis Major is, and you know where you have, like, let's say you have Sirius in the finder scope, like right here. How would you can you see about how you would get to at least a couple of these objects? Just at a casual glance.
If your sky is dark enough, you'll be able to see some of those other stars and hop on a trail to one of those pointed or one of those targets.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and click over. This is a good example of how you can use a single jump off point to locate a whole bunch of different objects within a close proximity. And it includes some star patterns for reference. Again, these all, again, and I mentioned the star point for all of these objects is Sirius. So if you find Sirius and you have a good atlas, you can find all of these objects as well, and probably more in here that I just didn't bother to include. But as you can see, there's a couple that you can just point directly. For instance, there is a line from Sirius through the nose of the head that goes to M50. if you turn a little bit and go through this corner, like the ear of Canis Major, it'll lead you to this triangle where M46 and 47 are. If you draw straight through the neck, past this little parallel, this little quadrilateral right here, you come to this diamond, whose fourth vertex is this planetary nebula called the Bat, which is one of my favorites in the winter. You got the little beehive down there, which is probably one you'll probably see in a finder scope because it's a pretty bright star cluster. And if you travel down the back of the Canis Major, past the double star and another star, you'll come to the tail, which is marked by these three stars right here. If you hang 90 degrees and kind of here, you come to Tau CMA, Tau Canis Majoris, which has the open cluster NGC 2362 circling around it. We turn right again, and you come to Winter Alberio, one of my personal favorite double stars. I'm just giving you a bunch of, this is also just me giving a shameless plug for some objects you can look for later on in the winter when Canis Major is all nice and high in the sky. Then if you keep going this way, you come to M93, right above the northern Puppis. And if you go down to this star and this star, you come to the Skull and Crossbones Nebula 2467, which is circled in red right here. I think this is a good instance of like what the power of star hopping is, because again, as I mentioned, all of these started from Sirius, and Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky, so it's really easy to locate, and that's all you really need. If you have a good atlas and you can find your way around this, that's really, again, you can find all of these and more. Like, I could have probably put at least a bunch of other star clusters in here just because, again, there's really just, sorry?
Yeah, they're all over.
Yeah, there's many of them. Again, this is Stellarium, so like there's probably a bit more in here that would probably be visible from, say, where we usually observe. But I'm sure there's at least a few others that if you had a good telescope, you could just slot around and then just navigate around here. Because like if you go to like this quadrilateral, for instance, you can just jump off this star. There's a little pair of star clusters right there that you could probably get in your telescope.
Is that declination or right ascension? It's Stellarium, or is that good fidelity up and down, and is right ascension is right and left? And
so right ascension is vertical in this image. This is the south is down.
Oh, right.
South is down. So right ascension would be vertical, and then declination would be like this. And the celestial equator is like just above like the edge of the screen.
Would be left and right, don't you think, on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something I've done with asteroid occultations, you would note that M41 is to the west, almost directly to the west of M. Is that 93? I talked to me to see.
93, yeah.
It's easy to find M41. Even I can find it going straight down. So let's say you have M41 in your scope, and you say, geez, it's 33 minutes west, right ascension wise. You just go in and have a cupcake or something and come out 33 minutes later. Well, no, that is absolutely valid. You don't need to eat a cupcake. But it'll be in the center if I'm looking at that right. Or you could say, I'll go a little bit lower than M41 because it's a little south, and I'll wait X minutes because it's X minutes to the west, right ascension wise.
Yeah.
And I've done that before in asteroid occultations when I'm looking like for an 8 magnitude star, and it worked once anyway.
Observing night is 33 minutes.
What's that?
Oh, observing night is 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, not from that.
Oh, you actually still do some night observing? Okay. So anyway, that's just an
Yeah, and that's a good point because like I know if you have an equatorial mount, you can actually force it because that's if you're aligned to Polaris, it's only aligned in terms of right ascension and declination, and you can just turn the right ascension axis 33 minutes to the east.
Right, but even if you just had an alpha
yeah, exactly. You can just wait. You can just wait and let it drift into the view.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is also completely valid. And to be honest, you'd probably get Winter Alberio in there at some point as well. Yeah. Yeah. 2 cupcakes. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. You can just let it sit out and you just go inside, just go by the fire. But anyways,
As M41 from M93, 2 cupcakes and a finger of bourbon.
No, there you go. If you're a raccoon.
You're right. Anyways, I just chose Canis Major because it's a good one and it's rising right now. But you can apply this to any constellation. Gemini is another good one because there are really easy start hops to M35. I want to say that it's politically incorrect nowadays with the Eskimo Nebula. Same with Castor and Pollux. Again, you can go from Castor and Pollux and go to pretty much any object in Gemini that you choose. And you can apply this logic to any constellation. Like it doesn't just have, it's not just limited to Canis Major. I mean, unless you're in like freaking sextants or something. I mean, if you're star hopping in sextants, you got some problems. Or you're just in like a Bortle zero. So, yeah. Any questions about this diagram or about like what was discussed in here at all? I know that, again, feel free to raise your hand. Like I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, that makes me feel really good. It means I'm hopefully explaining this well.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, so there is this is the last, I think this is the last slide. This is a bit of a shorter presentation, but like I'm happy to answer any questions you might have afterwards. I feel like I've covered most of the bases, but thanks to all of your prompts. But as with any skill, again, like riding a bike, the more you practice this, the better you'll get and the more natural it'll feel. I know if you're just coming from like setting circles or a go-to telescope, it'll feel very alien. But it is not, I don't think it's that difficult to learn. I mean, look at me. I mean, it took me like a few months to get the hang of it, but like once I got the hang of it, everything just clicked. Patience is also key when you're star hopping. I mentioned M81 that has really tested my patience in a couple of times of star hopping it. There are other objects like they're usually fainter objects that might not be immediately visible in the telescope. If you can't find what you're looking for, you can always just come back later unless it's right near the western horizon, and you can go find something that's a bit easier, perhaps. If you follow these, again, if you do these things, you'll be able to navigate your way around the sky without any trouble. And again, like, I'm not saying that, like, again, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve involved to this, but take it from someone who's been doing this for over a decade and who is, again, who likes to think I'm pretty good at this. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. But this is easy. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science, and this is not gravitation. This is not LIGO observing either. I don't know if you're here for the October meeting, but like if you were, you'll understand that reference. But this is again, if you want to do this, again, my advice to you, just pick up a pair, even if you just pick up a pair of binoculars, just go out one night while your go-to scope is doing like imaging or something, and just practicing this, like going to like a couple like these like bright clusters or a bright nebula or a galaxy, and just learning how to like read the night sky and to follow the chain stars to your target of interest. It's not that difficult, and if you do that, I feel like it's a great skill to learn. Again, it's not necessary if you have a go-to telescope. And again, like I'm sure most of you prefer a go-to telescope because especially if you're a photographer, because like you need a motorized telescope to do it. But again, this is just my opinion as someone who has been doing this for a very long time. I think this is a very useful skill to have, and it will definitely wow all of your astronomy friends who rely on electronics. Are there any other questions? Yes, George?
Just like you say, it takes practice. It's like learning anything new takes practice. You gotta work at it, and play with it, and try it. And there's a couple of books you can get. Just Google star hopping, you'll find a couple of books that'll reinforce exactly everything that David said.
Yeah, I know a couple of ones I can mention immediately. Turn Left at Orion is probably the most famous one. That's probably, if you're looking to get into star hopping, that's my immediate first recommendation. because they're all pretty bright objects for the most part, and they give you a very detailed step-by-step breakdown of like what objects to look for and patterns to recognize. And that was a book I rented from the library when I was getting started with star hopping, and it definitely made the process a lot easier with a lot of objects. So if you're looking to get into star hopping, like that's, again, turn left or right. You probably all know it already, but that's my recommendation if you're looking to get into it. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, blurbs? Yes,
What's
Jeff?
your easiest way to find Polaris from the Big Dipper? I was always told it was 2 fists from the square and Ursa Major, and we'll find the direct line to Polaris.
Well, I mean, let me actually go back. Let me go back a little bit, real quick. I'll go back a little bit. So, you know the pointers, I'm sure, like these 2 stars at the end. If I draw a line up through here, they will point right at Polaris after a little bit. If you also know approximately where the north is, you can also get a visual confirmation on where Polaris is because it's the only really bright star in its area.
It's 5 times distance to the Merak.
Yeah,
That's 5 degrees.
so line from so a line from here, then 5 times that distance will put you in the approximate area of Polaris. So it's first the major is out, because Polaris is like 2nd magnitude, so it's not that faint. And though it's not the brightest star like some people will claim, but it's not that difficult to see. Because again, it's like 25 degrees from any star of comparative brightness. So if you use
a great way to find it from my yard, where I set up my telescope, a broken branch points to it.
Okay, so Jeff, here's your answer. You just go to Kent's yard, you just find the broken branch.
What if that space is taken?
But you're right, there's nothing near it that's bright.
Yeah, and if you're having, even if you don't find Polaris directly, if you find the pointers, you can draw a line with the naked eye, and you'll come to it eventually, and you can then swing the telescope around to it.
Not for nothing, but this group's in good shape. We all know how to learn that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Again, I'm sure this is just redundant information for most of you because I'm sure most of us have star hopped before. But like again, in case you didn't, or in case it's been a while, like I figure like this was a nice, just a little bit of like a refresher course on just the basics of star hopping. Any other tidbits from anybody? Any blurbs? Anything that we want to just stand up and shout about before I hand the floor back over to Mr. President over there sitting right behind the camera?
I'll say one thing. With your apps, most of us do use an app.
Apps are also great.
And it's very important to set up your app every time you start. Because you can tweak how many stars you can see currently in the sky. So if you look through your finder at a pattern of stars, you can slide the scale on the app to see how many stars you actually see. And then your telescope set up to observe for where you're at. So little tricks like that, you can change the view, flip it, invert it, depending on what kind of telescope you're using or your finder to match your view. Just make sure you remember you did that. Okay. So it's different.
Yeah.
There's little things like that.
Yeah. And software like Stellarium can also help because this is just a screenshot of it, but I know that this symbol right here, if you click on that, it'll pull up a little like Telrad ring that you can use to help get an idea of how much you can fit in it. Yeah. Are there any other questions? All right, that is all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for listening. Yeah,
I'll push it to Sean. He can hang it.
Yeah, go right ahead.
If he is so willing.
Yeah, of course.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing.
And you can
all right.
You can revive all the people who I hid in Zoom.
There looks like there were some comments in the chat. Excellent presentation.
He'll come on with Pocket Sky Atlas. Good to hear, Bruce.
Yeah, I was actually going to call you the other day.
Jeff, what's our prize tonight? Well, as a matter of fact, I thought you'd never ask. This is, wait, don't shake it yet. They might not want it. Does anybody recognize? This is a refractor. It's got a removable cover. this cover, you put your cell phone on the cover, put this on this, cell phone on the cover, tighten this up. And you can mount this. This is actually a telescope. It's let me see what or something like that. Telescope. It also comes with a carrying case and
There's more.
For the tripod. And a case for a telescope. So all that can be yours for the ticket, which everybody has one.
Everybody should have one. Does anyone not have a ticket?
I'll put it back together.
You want to go ahead and draw?
Oh, it was donated by Ford Cameron. I forgot to say that.
Donated by who?
By Ford Cameron. The rocket guy.
Oh, cool. All right. The number is 275.
275.
275.
I took 76.
There you are.
Thank you.
Double check that.
All right.
I gotta figure out how to work it.
Well, thank you all for coming out. This is the last official club meeting for the year, although I hope to see many shining, happy, and soon to be very full faces at the upcoming luncheon. But unless anyone has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, second. All in favor? Thank you all.